Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers of love out there. In this episode of Late Night Love, we dive into the messy realities of work, parenting, and relationships. From sleep deprived work days and internship frustrations to car nap battles and sexist parenting moments, we're covering it all. Plus, we tackle relationship hurdles like blocked WhatsApp drama, hidden incomes, and intimate issues that hit close to home. So join us for real talk on life's toughest and weirdest moments with, I'm not going to say no filter, with a little bit of a filter, but yeah, we're not afraid to talk about anything. We do talk about it in a way that's try to be respectful for little ears that may be walking by, wandering by, that type of thing.
We try.
We try very hard. So, make sure you subscribe for more. You can find us at latenighlove.us, all your favorite podcast networks, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Just Late Night Love. You can find us. We are fairly easy to locate, but you can always send us your questions, comments, and, situations to love at latenighlove.us. Now, stay out of situationships. It's just a better idea than trying to figure out your way through one. Trust us. I think we will agree on that. Wouldn't we, Lovey?
I agree.
That's
definitely.
All right, let's
try to avoid.
No, try to avoid those situationship things. All right, so we're starting off, as we, there's going to be a big change coming here next week. We're changing how we do things a little bit. So if you want to catch us recorded live, you're going to have to find those actually at latenighlove.us, and then we're going to, break these up into segments. And I think we haven't decided on the schedule, but Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays seems like a likely time for the schedule drop.
Yeah.
And, we'll do work one day, relationships, parenting, I think it's life, parenting, and relationships, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And we'll mix in everything as normal, but we're going to break it up a little bit.
Okay.
For the good of, it's time to change a little bit of things, we'll do some background changes. We'll change layouts. It's good to do these things every now and again. Make sure you don't get stuck in a rut, so to speak. But to start the show, I want to remind everybody's, the whole world seems to be a bit over-worried these days, right? So I want to remind people that there's beautiful things happen all the time. They happen every day, and they just go unseen. And the reason they go unseen is because they're supposed to, in a way. There's times you don't really pat yourself on the back. You don't stand up in the rooftop and say, "Look what I did." It requires other people seeing it for it to come to light in the proper way. And that's in a world where everybody's focused on themselves and everybody's worried about all kinds of things. It's hard to do that. So I want to remind ourselves that, here we go. Let's take a look at this. We'll add this to the screen. As I, kind of peruse Quora to find, topics to talk about and things like that. But in 2015, school principal Jason Smith met a 12-year-old girl named Raven as she was sitting outside his office after being suspended from the 6th grade. She looked like a sweet, innocent child sitting there feeling down, Jason said. I asked her what had happened. She told me she threw a cup of yogurt at lunch and got suspended. She was just waiting to be picked up. Jason asked if she would ever throw food in a restaurant, and Raven told him she'd never been in one. She also explained that she didn't really have a family. She had spent most of her life living in group homes and moving around in the foster care system. I knew I was going to have trouble getting through this thing, but such is life. Where were they? Jason felt like Raven really needed something good to happen to her for once. She needed someone to help her, he said. So Jason and his wife, Maribeth, who had struggled with infertility for a long time, the moment they met Raven, they both They both knew she was meant to be a part of their life, of their family. Raven was grateful to find a loving home, and today she's studying social work at the University of Kentucky. These things happen every day,
Every day.
and we don't acknowledge them because they're going unseen. But yet, those are the things that have the biggest impact, not just in people's lives, but in the world. She will change the world in her own little way. None of us will likely ever know it, but she will change the world. She will impact other people's lives. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to start the show with. Just to remind everybody that, there's nothing stopping you from being the good in the world, except a little bit of effort. Smile more, say hello more often. That's all I'm saying. Do your part. Don't worry about what other people aren't doing. Worry about what you're not doing. Don't yell so loud. Be softer. That's all I'm saying. We all can do this. Okay.
A little bit every day.
A little bit every day. Okay. You ready to start? Do I need to make that bigger? Let me.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay. You ready? We're starting with
Yeah.
work questions tonight.
Okay, work questions. How do you deal with sleep deprivation at work?
Get more sleep when you're not at work is pretty much the only way to deal with it. As someone who's had to work 3 jobs, 4 jobs with a varying schedule, you sleep when you can. You at your lunchtime, you're sleeping. You're taking that 20-minute power nap. If you've got an hour, you're taking a 45-minute power nap, that kind of thing. You're sleeping as much as you can between shifts. And if you're working, let's say you're working night shift and you're generally not meant for that type of thing. If you're working the overnight shift, some people can do it. Some people can never adapt. You're going to have to switch to something that works for your body clock. So is there any more things like he's an intern or something and they're just going to work him to death because you're an intern at a hospital?
No.
He's not getting enough
He's
sleep.
not getting enough sleep is what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, then you have to get, and if it's because you're not getting enough sleep because you've got 2 other jobs or something, but if you're just not getting enough sleep because you're filling up your life too much, well, priorities, man. I've been there. I've done it. You stay up till 3:00 in the morning playing video games or something, and then next thing you know, it's 7:00 and you got to go to work. Or even worse, you're playing one of those you don't mean to. It's 12:00. You're sitting there playing a game. Next thing you know, it's 5:30, and it's 7. You got to be to work at 7, and you've just skipped a day of work, and you're either going to have to choose to, I'm not going to work today, or you're just going to have to power through and you drink lots of soda that day or whatever, coffee or whatever it is that mangles you through. And what you try to do on those days is not do anything overly important. I mean,
Yeah.
if at all possible, if you're working on the assembly line, you go and you go off and you empty trash and you tell your supervisor, today is not the day to have me running the QA line. You've got to put me on something else. You have to be responsible enough. If you're running quality assurance, that's not the day you do quality assurance. That's the day you go off and you clean corners. And it's not the day you operate heavy equipment. It's the day you clean the kitchen. It's just being responsible, right? There's always something else you can do other than something dangerous. But if you're an office worker, you're just going to have to muddle through. There's no way about it. You try to avoid big decisions, but other than that, you're just going to have to muddle through.
Data entries.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah. So
little slow accuracy.
Yeah, this is one of those things. This today is going to be slow as fast. No, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. Because you're going to have to go back tomorrow. And what the heck did I do? Because you're also going to find some of that where you filed things wrong. And those are the kind of things that happen in that case. So it's not the end of the world. It's just where did I put this? I'm not going to remember. And yeah. So try not to make any big decisions is my suggestion if you have to muddle through that. Okay.
Why do companies still care about 40-hour weeks if the job is done?
Because jobs are never done. If you're done and you still have more time, there's more to do. Just saying.
Always something to do.
There's always stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're done with the minimum required tasks for the week, well, now you have time to do other tasks that are still in your job description. And almost every job description is as assignments as needed. You know, your attitude is how people like you get laid off. Some weeks you're busy and you barely get all your stuff done, right? It happens. Other weeks you've got more time because for whatever reason, everything went smooth. And so now you've got an extra 10 hours a week. That's for your time to improve your skills, to clean up other stuff, to find the other things that need to be done, have to be done. And it's got nothing to do with your job or your employer. At some point, it becomes to do with you. You know, how do you want to be? Do you really want to, well, I finished my job, I'm going to go home. Do you accept that? If you hired a plumber, right? This is why people like plumbers and stuff, they charge by the job, not necessarily by the hour. Because just think about it. If you're a good plumber and you're fast at your work, right? You spent 30 years getting good and fast. You can come in, you can diagnose a problem and get it done in a third of the time that someone who's only been at it for 5 years can do. Why should you make a third less? So you charge it by the job. You know, the old story about that, the old mechanic who worked on engines, and no one could get it running. No one could get it running. No one could get it running. And the guy had retired. Says, no, it's going to cost you $100,000. I'm not going to pay $100,000 for you to. Okay, fine. Well, eventually they came back and said, okay, fine, whatever it costs, you just go fix it. He muddled around. He tapped on it a few times, took out a sledgehammer, banged it, and it started working. And he said, I'm not paying you all this money. So you didn't pay me the money. You paid me the money. The reason you paid me to only take 3 seconds to fix it. That's what you paid me for. No one else could fix it. I fixed it in 3 seconds. You paid for me to know exactly where and how hard to hit. No one else knew exactly where and how hard to hit it. Now, here's my suggestion. Buy replacement before it stops again. Will you do that? Probably not. So anyway, it's just an opportunity to do more. It's called opportunity cost. They leave you leeway in your job tasks, so you're not always pushing a deadline, so you don't always feel stressed. Doesn't mean you don't fill up time, just, you know, you don't find something productive to do in the time you have left. You find something productive to do. Even if it's just self-education, so you're even better and faster later on. Just let them know so they know you're ambitious. Otherwise, you're shorting yourself. You're not going to make as much money because that's the bad side of an hourly wage. If you're faster than other people, you're going to have to do more work or make more an hour. But people have a problem with people who make more per hour. Because just to think how to balance it out, for them to, you have to make 25% more. If you can do in 30 hours what other people can do in 40, you have to make 25% more to make the same amount of money if you're paid by the hour.
Is this where salary came about?
Yeah, because productive workers don't want to get paid like the rest of you schmucks. I'm actually good at my job. I'm fast. I can do more in either less time than you all can. So I need to be paid differently than you all. Saying.
Yeah, that's going to go over well.
Right. Of course, the people who are that much better at than their coworkers don't care. They can be mad all they want, and I'm 3 times better than them. They can kick rocks for all I care. Just saying, the confident, good employees will always be able to find someplace else to work. So you can't, that kind of thing, doesn't bother them. I'll just go somewhere else who will pay me what I need, and they know they can find it. These people are always looking for people who can do things faster and better than other people.
Got to know your worth.
I'm just saying. And if you don't want to work that hard, that's fine. Slow down and get your work done in 40 hours. That's what unions do. Union workers do. So anyway, what's next before I
Is it common for jobs not to count internship experience?
It used to be more common than it is now.
Now they count it, don't they?
Now they'll count volunteer experience that didn't used to count. They'll count all kinds of things,
Yeah.
So, and it may depend on your industry, and that experience has to be relevant to them.
Yes.
It has to be quasi-relevant to the job. If you volunteered at Comic-Con, but you're an accountant, unless you are volunteering to do the accounting, they're not going to care. But if you volunteer to do the accounting, then you put it on your...
Yeah.
So make sure it's relevant. Okay, what's next?
Is anybody else tired of people pretending to be hard workers at work?
What do you mean pretending to be hard workers at work?
They work hard when the boss is around.
Oh, well, that's just the way nature is. There's no use getting upset with it. It's like getting upset for the wind blowing. It just is what it is. You spend that much time thinking about what your coworkers are or aren't doing, then guess what you're not focused on? What you are not doing. Just worry about yourself. Don't worry about them. Bosses aren't that dumb. They know who works. So question is, are you smart enough to work when your boss steps into the room? If you're too dumb to do that, well then again, go back to it. Worry about yourself, not your coworkers. We've spent far too much time in the last decade or so worrying about what other people are doing rather than worrying about what we're doing. Now, if Bob being lazy becomes a problem for you because you can't get your workflow done, then you bring it up with Bob, and if Bob doesn't deal with it, then you deal with the person whose job it is to deal with Bob.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bob has isn't interfering in your workflow, then it's not a problem. It's not your problem. It's Nagna.
But it just under his skin.
Yes, but then when you get his boss's job, then you can kick him to the curb. So that's how you solve these kind of problems. Don't worry about what's not your business. Now, if you're ever having a casual conversation with his boss or something, you can sneak in that kind of thing. But it's a rule of thumb. Better off minding your own business. Now, if asked, you offer your opinion because you want to be honest with your,
Mm-hmm.
But if not asked, it's none of your business. Same. Life's better that way. Okay.
How do you handle giving rides to coworkers home? He's charging them money.
Well, gas money, sure.
Okay.
And even if the commute's on your way.
Now they're wanting rides to the bus, a couple blocks away.
Well, to the bus a couple blocks, I wouldn't. It's a couple blocks, it's not your way. But generally speaking, if it's the guy, even if the guy lives across the street, right? You split the cost of gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just how things roll. Figure out roughly what the cost of gas is, for the commute, and you split that. That's how these things roll. you've got a carpool going on, that's the point of the carpool, is to reduce the cost for everybody. Now, there are special occasions. So there may be someone who's struggling with a family. They're the lowest person on the totem pole. They ain't getting paid very much, and they're literally on the way. Yeah, you do what's right in that position, right? You do the right thing.
You have to.
You don't have to, but you do the right thing. It's not some moral imperative that you do, but you do the right thing because you can. It's not costing you anything extra,
Okay.
that type of thing. But other than that type of thing, it's not uncommon to split the cost of the commute in that kind of a situation. And if they are unwilling or don't want to, then it's not your problem. Go back to a nice quiet commute. Take them, drop them off at the bus stop. Sure. Who cares? Who cares about driving 2 blocks to drop somebody off at the bus stop? If that irritates you, then you need to find, your life is pretty good if that's your biggest life irritant. I'm just saying. Who do you want? Do you really? I'm just saying. Okay, what's next?
I'm 18 and I got a new job. Can I leave before my 2 weeks at my current job?
Your current job will probably prefer it most of the time. Well, people get short timer's disease, right? It just is. It just happens. And so, 2 weeks is a courtesy. Hopefully they've got a replacement, lined up already. If everybody's treating you well, you might ask them. You can say, hey, do you guys have a replacement? Is it okay if I go ahead and leave now to go start the new one? They may or may not say okay. They may prefer it. Who knows? I've never known, very few companies let you make you run out the 2 weeks.
Very few.
Because they'll 7 days to get everything squared away. First week to get everything squared away. Most of them won't even pay you for that last week. See you later. If it's something like fast food or something like that, they just won't schedule you much for that last week. So I wouldn't worry so much about it. But do what you need to do for yourself. That's the actual answer on that. Okay.
My new job is a much higher paying position that has stressed me out to the point of chest pains and damaging my relationship at home. How do I manage this?
Oh, you're stressed out. Now, is it because it's a higher paying position and you're so afraid of failure that, it's a...
No, the responsibilities.
Okay, so they're just not used to the responsibilities and
Yes.
and they don't know how yet to turn it off.
Yes.
And sometimes you can never fully turn it off. So that's the actual thing. Don't expect to be able to fully turn it off. But you are going to have to learn to, shift those responsibilities. Like when the car door closes, when you walk in the door, the final bus door closes, who knows? Whatever it is, there's a shift. Some people use the commute. A lot of people use the commute. So use the commute to shift from work brain to home brain.
I used to call it switching hats. Switching my hats from work to home.
Yeah, but part of this is you're not used to dealing with the stress yet. You're still learning. Everything's kind of thrown at you all at once, and you should have expected that. The natural part of that big of a change. But you can do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given you all this extra money and responsibility.
You can.
So what you just have to do, and there's no easy way to do it. In a sense, it's almost like exposure therapy. You're just going to have to kind of practice. You're going to be terrible at it the first 6 times you do it. Turning off work brain and turning on home brain. But you're going to have to do it because that's what's ruining your relationship, is that you can't turn off your work brain at home. And so now you're not present when you're there. People can take, you're working extra hours and long hours during the transition period. People can deal with that, but you need to be there when you're there. They still need you. I'm assuming it's a family.
Yeah.
Your kids still need you. Your wife still needs you. And there's this period, how, is it 6 weeks, a couple months. It's an adjustment period
There is. Yeah.
for this kind of thing. And everybody,
And there is always early on, you get this feeling, what did I do? This is, how did I think I was going to be able to manage this? There's always that moment of questioning yourself.
and you
You
can
know,
manage, and you can
and you
manage.
can, and
Yeah.
you do.
You just have to get used to the surroundings. You have to get stable footing, and it's very hard to step into oftentimes chaotic positions with stable footing. Sometimes you have to kind of create it. Sometimes you have to create your stable footing, and you have to clean up other people's messes, and that's never fun. You have to figure out what's going on. You have to figure out culture. You have to make decisions on, okay, not only what kind of culture do I want to create, how do I get from here to there? There's all kinds of things that are bouncing around inside this pretty little noggin, right? It's just, and it's perfectly reasonable to get yourself all worked up over it. And so, one, don't beat yourself up over being stressed, because oftentimes then we just beat ourselves up over being stressed and just piling on at that point. You're just making yourself worse. So try not to beat yourself up over it. Expect that this is a process, that you're gone from it. It's going to take 6 weeks to settle in, and your family needs to understand that it's going to take you at least 6 weeks to settle in.
Minimum, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have to man up a little bit too during this transition period. But you have to be working hard. If your wife and family see you working hard to manage that transition, they will follow. Okay, he's trying really hard. So if you're trying hard, be more present when you're home, to make sure you take the 5 minutes. You don't have to tell her about your day, but make sure you listen about hers. Yeah. That type of thing. Maybe tell her how stressed you're feeling. Women actually appreciate that.
We do.
You don't have to drop into a long conversation. Even set up, I don't really have a long conversation about it, but work is really stressing me out. I've got a billion things on my mind, and it is bouncing me out. And I appreciate the fact that we're all trying to make this thing work. I appreciate you. Yeah. Tell her that on occasion.
We need to hear that.
Yeah. I realize, I appreciate that you're being my rock right now. I hit a button over there, right? So yeah, no, I hit a thing. So just appreciate that. Let her know every occasion that you appreciate that she's being a rock, that she's sacrificing during this period of time, and that you will make sure it pays off in the long run. You can tell her that. So
we need to hear those things.
Yeah.
Because we're not mind readers either.
Yeah. Well, she needs to know. Tell her how much you actually appreciate her being there. Tell her she's sacrificing. She's willing to sacrifice. She'll do it. But she needs to hear that you appreciate it. And here's how guys go, but I don't need to know. I know she appreciates. Well, she's not you. We see those things. It's the communication. So when people are struggling, you have to make sure you communicate in ways that they can hear you. And so, you're both struggling right now. So you're both going to have to try. Do your part. She's trying. She may not be expressing herself all that well, but she's trying. So do your part. Try to express yourself. Make sure you tell her that how much you appreciate her holding down the fort while you're working on this difficult transition.
You know how much that means to us when y'all do that? We repeat that to family, friends, what you did, what you said, things that you say.
Yeah, it means more than we think it does.
Yes.
So let that be known. If there is nothing else, let that be known. All right. We are on to parenting questions tonight. Oh,
Excellent.
right. We're good at parenting questions, actually.
We are.
Eventually. Good, because that was an emotional, ones for me today.
Yes, it
Emotional of the show.
was, my honey.
Or either that or I'm emotional today. Of course, it was an absolute disaster before we started, recording here. I was right up until I was a mess. I was a menace. I'm in a menace setting
Little
up the studio
frazzled.
today. And we still are. You may not notice it, but yeah, it's still kind of there's all kinds of weird things happening back in here. So
Oh no.
yeah. No. Also because I hit the wrong key. I hit a thing and stuff started happening because I hit something that I don't know what I hit. We'll be all right. We'll do that. Okay.
All right, parenting.
Yeah, parenting.
My husband refuses to give in to car naps because when the child falls asleep in the car when they get home, they refuse to go down for a nap.
Yeah. Well, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But many people use them. It's called you pick them up and get them in the house. It's an art, man. I was great at it.
You were?
Oh yeah. Getting them things out the car in the house, still napping. Oh yeah. Good at that. You can't fight this thing called reality. Right? Children are going to fall asleep in the car. You try to fight it. You're fighting a losing battle. So, children don't always need a full nap. Sometimes those children naps are more for us than the children.
They really are.
So, take the long way home. There's my solution. Take the scenic drive. Take a longer nap so they get a longer nap.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the better answer there. So what does he do? Play music really loud or something? Try to get the kids to stay awake?
Yeah.
That works if it's a 10-minute drive, but if it's any longer than that, they're just going to acclimate and fall asleep.
They will.
So what? They come on the way home from school or something, and they fall asleep on the way home?
By home from parents and stuff like that, grandparents.
Yeah.
Well,
if depending upon the length of the drive, take the long way home. So the nap is actually a nap, and then they don't need to nap when they get home because they've taken one.
There we go.
Yeah. And someone who's had 4 kids in a car at one time, be glad when those suckers are taking a nap and you're driving. Bless the quiet in the car because they're confined and they fight with each other because they got nothing else to do. Just saying. Blessed be the silent. Just saying. All right. What's next?
Child crying for her parents, but not us, her other parents. Now, this little girl is 5, and her parents are a lesbian couple. And they don't understand how they can make it any more clear to this little girl that they are her parents. They did, it's her egg. There was a donor, but she wants to know her daddy, and all this other stuff. Everybody has a daddy. I want a daddy, but she's 5. And I went through the same thing when I was 5. My father was left when I was 3.5. And it just wasn't a thing until I was 5.
Yeah, this is one of those things you just kind of have to wait out. There's no way through it other than waiting it out. In 6 months, she'll understand that, those are her parents, and it doesn't matter if it's daddy or mommy and mommy or mommy and daddy or daddy and daddy. It's just parents. But for the first time in her life, she sees that most people look a certain way, and she wants to be like everybody else. Doesn't last very long. Reality comes back to, every day comes back to reality every time.
Yeah, I know it's hard for
It's hard for now,
this couple
and when
right now.
And when the child gets older, she'll understand, but you can't explain it to a 5-year-old. So
No,
you
you just keep repeating yourself.
all you can do is let it work through it.
Yeah.
Say, I understand you feel that way. You can validate the feelings, but I can understand you feel that way. But there's nothing you can tell a 5-year-old that they're going to really understand. But depending upon the method, that's your daddy.
Yeah.
you know, that's your daddy. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it'll make sense when you're older. There's oftentimes, I'm sorry, as much as people do not like it, there's lots of times where you have to tell your children it'll make sense when you're older, because it will.
I know you don't understand right now.
But you'll understand later.
Yes, you will.
When you have more experience in the world and you can put these things into a different perspective, it'll make more sense. Sometimes they're 30 when things make sense. How many children have come to their parents when they're 35? Hey, things make more sense now. Sorry, I was a butthead. It like happens to almost every parent, right? At some point, at least one of your child will, I'm sorry, I was a butthead, man. It all makes sense now. I understand where you were coming from. I feel bad. It's all good.
It's okay. Your kids will do it to you.
Yeah, it's life. There's nothing you can do about it. It just is. So it's part of growing up. It's part of the process. Okay.
Okay, husband is being sexist regarding our 2-year-old. He admits it and refuses to change. This little boy, he wanted these girls' Moana shoes. He loves Moana. He's 2.
Yeah,
he wanted Moana shoes.
Well, okay, this is the thing where we're fighting reality versus perception, right? Yes, for the 2-year-old boy and the mother, it's just Moana shoes. There's no boys, girls shoes, really, realistically, because the child just likes what they like. And he's seen the Moana movie. He's seen Moana on a shoe. I want the Moana shoe. That's all it is.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. But in the modern world, there is so much. Let's see how I can put this. So much discussion over the roles of gender and ideology and everything else. There are people who are highly oversensitive to things like this now.
Unfortunately.
And it's the part of the problem is your attempts to deal with him rationally aren't going to go as well as you think they are, because he's not thinking rationally. So you have to deal with him emotionally. And the problem is I can't give you a direct suggestion is because we all are emotionally different. She knows him far better than anybody else.
Yeah.
She knows what emotional string to get him to start thinking rationally. She just has to find the right one to pull. There's an emotional string or two she knows how to pull that can get him to thinking rationally again. But she's going to have to figure out that, a string or two. Because he's just thinking pure emotion right now. He's worried that his child is going to get caught up in all this gender ideology discussion things going on right now. And that's his emotion, right? I don't want to have to deal with that in my family, right? That's what his emotion is. It's for you and the 2-year-old, it's just a freaking pair of shoes with Moana on it. That's all it is. If he was if it had been a Spider-Man movie, it would be Spider-Man. But you caught him right at that moment where it was a Moana movie, and so it's Moana. It's pure luck of the dice. In a sense, you could just wait it out 3 months, and he'll move on. The child will move on to something else. That is the solution to it. Maybe it's not worth the fight. Maybe it's not worth a discussion. But at some point, you and your husband are going to have to, realize, look, we're on the same page. We're probably on the same page about the whole gender ideology thing. We're not, but it's just Moana shoes, dude. He don't know anything about girls or boys' shoes. He just likes Moana. But he's not going to hear that right now.
It's two.
Yeah. He's not going to hear that right now unless she understands where his emotions are coming from and he can put his emotions aside and think logically. He's going to have to.
He can barely talk.
I'm not talking to the child. I'm talking to the husband.
Oh, no.
No, the child, you can just wait it out, really, realistically. They grow out of him anyway.
He just knows he's not going to get the shoes.
Yeah. Well, he's going to grow out of him in 3 months anyway. So, there's always that. At 2 years old, you know how many shoes you go through at 2?
Go like this. Other side. There you go.
So, anyway, I would have the discussion regardless of what you decide to do with the shoes, is you and your husband have to get the same page. And he has to understand that you guys are on the same page, whatever that page is, on the discussion of gender and ideology. Doesn't matter what it is. Make sure you guys are on the same page. Because if he trusts that you're on the same page, then he's not going to have these big emotional reactions. Maybe they're not on the same page. And then that's the real reaction. Got nothing to do with the shoes. But I suspect they do have they're in the same chapter, if not on the same page, right? I suspect that he's just having an emotional reaction because of the world today.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you instill confidence in your older child?
How old are teens?
Yeah.
Oh, give them something to be confident about. Doesn't matter what it is. If they're good at video games, then you acknowledge them being good at video games. Whatever it is they're good at, give them opportunities to be good at that. If they're creative, go find a teen. Like in here, they have a teen audio radio drama here in Sacramento. They got lots of things for teens. You've got teen PSA competition, where they go out and make PSAs for the local sewer district. Find them something. If they're creative, find them something like that to participate in. Just the participation, just being part of a team and accomplishing a goal, even if they don't win, just getting everything done and builds the confidence.
Yes, it does.
So it doesn't matter what they do. Encourage whatever they're good at.
I started early. I had them in Girl Scouts. And they continued their interest in nature and in skills that they picked up, little hobbies and things they picked up along the way.
Yeah.
And they're very creative today. Yeah.
Yeah. So just
as adults.
Confidence comes from competence.
Mm-hmm.
So highlight what they're competent at. And they're teenagers. They're trying new things. They're not always good at them at the start, right? Very few of us are good at things naturally. Everybody might have that one thing, but that one thing may be, a slinky or something. It's not really useful. But if they're good at doing slinky tricks, film them doing slinky tricks and put them up on TikTok or something. Find something that they're competent at. But as teenagers, it's also best to help them get used to working in groups and teams. So
yes,
find something where they can work with 2 or 3 other people and complete a couple of projects, whatever it is. Soapbox derby, who cares? What it is less important than the fact that they're getting together, they're working through problems, and then they're accomplishing some type of goal.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of deliberately doing it. Because they do it all the time, especially if they're teenagers, they're playing video games, they're accomplishing goals all the time. You're just not realizing it because they're not doing it deliberately. Getting through a lot of these video games is insanely difficult. Being good at many of them is insanely difficult. But they're not doing it deliberately. So they don't transfer the fact that, hey, I'm good at something.
You have to tell them.
Yeah, those are transferable skills. The ability to problem solve and work your way through difficult situations and re-strategize. Those are transferable skills. Those are basic human skills that we all need to get through, life. Pattern recognition. There's all kinds of things that video games teach. That the problem is we don't realize they teach them these things. How do I strategize? How do I solve this problem? How do I be creative in a way that, given the limitations of the environment I'm working in, play games like City Skyline or things like that, where you're city builders or open worlds. These things are very difficult problems to solve, but yet they solve them all the time. Those are transferable skills, but no one tells them that these are transferable skills. Those skills are useful when you go out and want to create a PSA. So that's my suggestion. Give them something to do.
Very good.
Deliberately. Have them accomplish something deliberately rather than unthinkingly playing a video game. They're accomplishing things all the time. They're just not thinking about it in that way. So that's my suggestion. Okay, so what is next?
Are we all food shopping constantly? This husband and wife, they have 2 toddlers, and she's shopping like every couple days.
Well, yeah, if you're only buying a couple of days worth of stuff, then yeah. She's clearly not buying for a week if she's only going in every couple of days, or if she is, then her and her husband are eating more than they should be. But so if this is your habit, then deliberately only buy for a couple of days. Make it that deliberate choice. If you're over buying, then deliberately only buy for a couple of days.
Now here's an idea. When we lived in Hawaii, we were not command sponsored. We had a very small budget, and I would make out. We got paid once a month. I would make out the budget, a menu for a month, and we would go shopping for a month.
Yeah, now I'm going to give a thing. There's a period of time, if you've got 2 teenage boys, it's sometimes cheaper to shop every 2 days. Because if you buy 5 days worth of food, they'll eat it in 2 days. If you buy 2 days worth of food, they'll eat it in 2 days. So I'm just saying. It's easier, cheaper just to buy a couple of days worth of food. At toddlers, if you're going and you're shopping for a week and you're eating it and having to go back in 2 days, unless it's things like milk and things that only last a few days, generically speaking, you and your husband are eating too much.
Or they're just not being realistic about how much their growing toddlers are eating.
No, there's that. But my guess is it's the parents that are eating more than they realize.
Because toddlers are notorious for not sitting down and eating meals, but snacking all day long.
Yeah. So here's the question: be more deliberate about what you're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you there's 2 ways. You can either overly plan, or you can overly sacrifice to the gods and go shopping every 2 days for just 2 days worth of foods. There's 2 solutions there. We're giving you 2 opposite ones. And plan for a whole month, or you can just surrender to the chaos and buy only 2 days worth of food.
There you go.
So there's our suggestion. Okay.
I have a confession to make. I love sleeping in bed with my kid. He's 4. Am I weird?
No.
No, because you realize they're only little for so long, and it goes by so fast.
Yeah. What?
And then they don't want to sleep. My 30-year-old doesn't want to sleep with me anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah. Imagine that.
She's still my baby.
So, that's weird, but 4-year-old, no, it's perfectly normal. There's nothing really weird about it.
No.
Child sleeps better. You sleep better because you're not thinking about there's part of that is as species, we're used to sleeping close to our children. And so when the child is on the other room, across the house or something, and you can't hear them breathing, there's a parenting thing. It worries you a little bit. So when the child is right next to you, you're much more comfortable. It's perfectly reasonable, perfectly natural. for you to be much more comfortable when your child is right next to you
That
because you know
is.
they're safe.
Yes.
You know, they're probably safe in their bedroom. You don't know that for sure because they're not right next to you.
Yeah.
So there's instinctively makes sense that you're going to try to keep them close. So, okay, I would worry about it if it's laying on for much longer though, but because the child won't want to sleep with you much longer.
When the child says no, you got to respect it.
Or when the
Yeah.
child starts flopping around and popping upside the head. So there's the other one. Okay.
My mom wants me to bring my kids on a trip, and I don't want to. Am I overreacting? She wants to take her children on a trip.
Uh,
And this grandmother is not very involved with the children when she's around them.
yeah.
She's more an observer.
Yeah, that's her way of being involved.
And she wants to take them on a trip, but there's not going to be very much interaction. And
She just likes to watch her grandchildren be. Plenty of people want to watch them be. Watch them children interacting with your grandparents. You're not getting the real child. You get to see the real child when you just sit back and watch. There's a great joy in sitting there watching children playing, laughing.
I agree, honey, but I think there can be some balance too.
Yeah.
Like talking with them and asking them questions about themselves and getting to know them.
Children don't want to sit there and be interrogated by their grandparents.
My grandchildren love it.
Oh, I never wanted to be
Sayep did.
interrogated by my grandparents.
He used to go on walks with me and listen to my same questions every time. Are you sleeping well? Are you eating? How is school going?
Well, here's my
What are
thing.
you learning? And dutifully, and he never act bored anytime.
Well, it doesn't mean he wasn't. But the point is, don't put your expectations on, your mom's going to be how your mom's going to be. And do you really want to not have your children around her? Simply because she's not interacting with them in the way you think she should? I'm just saying. She's not going to change. She's what she is. So you either accept it or not. Is she willing to pay for a trip so you and your children get to go off and have this this nice little excursion, and the only thing it actually costs you is grandma watching?
No, she wants to take them alone.
Who, grandma wants to take the kids alone?
Yeah.
Well, then let her. You're sitting here. I once saw you're sitting here complaining that grandma's not going to interact with them, and grandma wants to go take them on a trip by herself. And now you're saying, well, no, because you're not going to interact with them. Yes, you will. She ain't gonna have no choice not to. That's the whole point of the trip.
So you think she's trying to reach out?
I think she's trying to be grandma. Let her be grandma.
Okay.
Just because she's grandma, not in the way you would want her to be grandma, doesn't mean it's not going to be a perfectly normal grandma thing. Let her be grandma. It's no different than letting your husband, be dad. Let grandma be grandma. Enjoy the weekend. Kids will be all right. She raised you. They'll at least survive. Enjoy the, are you confident they're going to survive? Then don't worry about it.
I forget how old the children were. I mean, if they just don't, if they were grumbling about having to go with grandma because they don't,
Well, because
you need to go.
because
But
grandparents are boring. All they do
know,
is ask you questions that you don't want to answer. I just want to play video games, and then I got to answer a bunch of questions I don't want to play. Let her be. It's my suggestion. Let her be grandma. Enjoy the weekend. Okay. All right. So we're moving on, I believe, right? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. We've got relationship questions tonight. Ooh,
We
fun.
have some very interesting ones. I love this one. I'm just gonna dive right in.
All right.
I said no once, and now I'm blocked on WhatsApp by my husband. Now he requested she had worked all day,
Uh-huh.
came home, made dinner, finally sat down,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, could you go get me a bowl of ice cream?" And she said, "No,
Yeah.
get your own ice cream. I'm tired."
Yeah.
And he blocked her on WhatsApp.
So what? You know what? You know how we know how these things happen. You're both having a rough day at the same time. And on occasions,
Oh, we learned from this one.
occasionally ships collide. You don't worry so much about them, especially if it's over a bowl of ice cream. Leave it alone.
You'll be laughing about it in a couple days.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Leave them be.
Yeah, just let it be. It was more than that. There was other stuff at play, and just like you had a long day, he had likely had a long day, and yeah, 2 long days crashing into each other is,
What we have come to an agreement on is you can say, I'm having a bad day. Please inform me because I need to know. Because if I'm having a bad day also, then we need to go to opposite corners of the house and have our bad days in seclusion because us together having bad days, we have learned
yeah,
doesn't work out for some reason.
yeah, it doesn't happen all that often, but on the times where it does, you just say,
Oh, it's very rare.
yeah, you just say, no, yeah, we're all play on the opposite side of the house. We all good today. We're on our own today.
Right,
Yep.
yeah, right. Okay.
Yep.
I'll see you in the kitchen.
I'm having a rough day. So am I. So we're on our own today. Yep. Okay. That's how it works. We every few hours we check in with each other for 5-6 minutes, you know, and we move on.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Need anything? You know?
Yeah.
Not really.
No. Are you?
I'm good. Are you good? Not really.
Not really. All right.
Okay.
See you later. We don't worry about it, and then we laugh about it in a couple days. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next?
My partner stormed out of our apartment after I told him I couldn't give him the support he wanted because my friend died. Help.
So they both needed support at the same time. And
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
we just went over this.
yeah, this is
You cannot rely on your partner
Yeah,
if they're having it sometimes. If they
yes.
don't have it.
And this is the way to deal with it is to acknowledge it. That we're both having days where this is why it's a good idea to have more than just your partner as your support system. You need someone else.
Yeah.
Because this is a day where you both needed someone
2 or
else.
3.
Yeah. He likely went to go find someone else, right? Went to go his best friend, whatever he does when he needs other support. That's where he went. Right. So you have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because right now, neither one of you are in a place to support each other. So in a couple of days, when life gets back to more normal, you'll end up laughing about it, but you do have to kind of come back to it. But sorry I wasn't able to be there for you the other day. Yeah, me too. I was a bit of a jerk, storming out like that. And then hopefully you come to the agreement that we're allowed to do this on the occasion. We just have to be more rational about it, more thoughtful about it at the period of time and say, like we just discussed, we're on our own today.
You can't.
Some days you're on our own.
Yeah.
Some days it's the rest of our sports system's going to have to pick up the slack because I can't do it because I'm dealing with my own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the strange thing about that is when you grant each other the freedom to do that, you need it less and less.
I can't remember the last time we did that.
Yeah. Because those days when we're having a bad day now, what happens is who's ever having the least bad day surrenders to their least bad day and just steps up for the other person. But you can only do that when you're in a condition where you're allowed to go off and have your bad day if you need it.
There, I know that's a paradox, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. You can only put if you're having a really bad day, but your other person is having a worse day, it's very hard to surrender to your, all right, fine. She needs me more than I need me right now. I'll deal with it tomorrow, or I'll deal with it. But
Yeah, and I know when you have done that for me, and what you have to give is not your full force, So I try. So I'm very grateful for what you have to give me,
yeah, so it
because
happens.
I know you're really digging deep,
But you can only dig that deep when you have the freedom to. I can't do that
I
today.
can't do that today. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, what's next?
My boyfriend hides his income from his family and it's hurting their view of me. How do I convince my boyfriend to reconsider? He has a meme income from long ago. Okay.
Oh, so
And
he's still collecting royalties or something from something.
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of stuff
yeah.
that he created. He's independent. He doesn't have to work. And neither does she.
Okay.
And but he never told his family where his money comes from.
Well, this
Because
is
he thinks they're gonna judge him.
no. Here's what it did. He runs his own business. Is
Yeah.
really what it is, and he's making money from past projects. He's still cashing in from past projects. So when your parents ask, "What do you do?" We run our own business. We sell art on the internet. We collect royalties from art we sold on the internet. That's what you do. That's your business. There's there's no judgment to be judged. You're making more money than most people your age. So, hello. You're not selling your soul on OnlyFans or anything. You made memes that have collected your income. You sold art, comics. You gave people clearly you given joy to people's lives in an art form.
Obviously. Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
If you're making enough to be able to pay your monthly bills from it, yeah.
You're making a lot of people happy.
You're in the top 1% of internet earners if you're
There
able
you
to pay your
go.
bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stop hiding what you've accomplished. Give your parents and your family the chance to be proud of you. Maybe they won't be, but they can never be if you don't tell them. And your package is you, you sell art on the internet. You sell enough of it that you don't really have to work traditional jobs
Hmm.
because I'm actually quite good at what I do. Tell them, knucklehead. There's what you tell your boyfriend. You're a very successful artist. Tell them that you run a business. You sold your art on the internet and you make commission. It's what you do. It's your business. Okay.
Okay, I found out my boyfriend got 2 other women pregnant. What do I do now?
What during the period of time or like previous?
During the period of time they've been together.
Oh, well, at this you leave them. What do you mean you do? You go start off your life somewhere else. This is like you got 2 red flags. And they sent you double signal. This wasn't the route you wanted to go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This one's
Sorry,
easy.
I know you're scared, but there are good men out there. There really are who accept your child. You come with a child that accept as a family. There are men looking for families. They don't mind. They want it. That's what they want. So don't be afraid.
There's men will not reject you. The good man will not reject you because you come with a family, because you come with a child. He may or may not be looking for a family, but the one that will you don't want the ones that will turn their back on you just because of that anyway.
Hmm.
They're not meant for you. But you also don't want ones who, will not treat you properly.
And this one is not treating you properly.
No. And yeah. in any way, quite frankly, not even health wise, taking care of himself, getting people pregnant. So he's not even safe, not even treating you safely. So move on. Yeah, you'd rather be alone, if that's the case.
Because there's nothing but crying
Yeah.
left there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
crying's the best thing that's going to get out of that. That's the best thing that's going to happen is lots and lots of tears. There's nothing better than that. There's just no way it comes. Yeah, there's only tears and disaster on that path. So move on. Okay.
All right. He is amazing and treats me so well that he has a very small package. And intimacy is not good. I don't know what to do.
Well, you have to decide is
What you have, what do you value?
Yeah.
In your life? I mean, what at the end of the day, when you're 80 years old, what's really going to matter? And let me tell you, it's a man who makes you laugh.
because there's things you can do.
He does. Things get better over time. They really can. You have to make an effort and teach him. He's not a mind reader.
No, and there's also prosthetics you can strap on to if it's that big of a problem, in terms of size, fix that problem. But little direction and understanding, and you can work through it. Hopefully, there's ways to work through it. You can always pleasure yourself if that's the real problem. But is sex really going to be the ender? And it might be. Of course, at 60, you'll have a different view.
Okay, you're 32. 20 years from now, this is, and beyond, it's going to mean nothing.
Maybe. Hey, man, all the STDs are happening in the old folks' homes. So the old people in the old folks' homes are having a good old time. But I don't know if everything else is good, and that's the only real problem. And the real problem is the size, not the effort, not the attention.
I know.
I can understand her frustration, but really?
I know.
Now, maybe he's not willing to compensate, right? Maybe he's not willing to drive downtown, so to speak, and so he's not even compensating for his that's a different problem. That's a different press. So there is that. Maybe he's not willing to compensate. Yeah.
Well, she wasn't that specific.
Yeah. So it's hard to know.
Okay.
But
yeah,
everything else is right, but that's the only problem. I don't know.
I think you're being a little petty there, hun.
Yeah. Now, if there's a lack of effort type thing, then that's a different story. Okay.
Living together, I found out that he smells, and I just can't get over it. How do I gently explain that it isn't funny and it is a deal breaker?
What?
He has, how people have a certain smell.
Yeah.
She finds his offensive.
So what? Does he eat like too much garlic or something, and so he sweats garlic out?
She didn't say it was just like this, right? Like that.
Oh, because there are some things. It could be a medical issue, theoretically. Often
you're not going to give him a chance to try
to figure out what it is. And remember, people don't know. It's I'm willing to bet it's some diet thing. He eats a lot of garlic or some of those other things that leaches out. So
even takes some supplements.
Yeah,
maybe. Mm-hmm.
Or people can have medical issues. That But if it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. There's no way to you don't explain it. It just is. I mean, if it's not a hygiene issue, what else are you going to do about it? It's either, if it's not a hygiene issue, that means it's a medical issue or it's a diet issue.
One of those three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Look into it.
yeah. And maybe it's not. Maybe his scent and your olfactory nerves are just not meant to be. It may just be. Maybe your body chemistries just don't match. Possible.
Could be.
The world works in mysterious ways. Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend of 4 years got his half of our anniversary trip paid for by his parents, and it was supposed to be our present to each other.
Okay, let's say you guys are 21. Here's a little secret. He doesn't have access to that much money. So he got the money by asking his parents, and they gave him a gift. That's how he got the money. Otherwise, he wasn't going to be able to go. Now, maybe that would have been a better solution.
But
I can't
you
afford
say
it.
I can't afford it, and you still had a little staycation.
Yes, that may have been the better solution, but he chose to, he has access to his parents. His parents, he probably works hard, good kid. So they gave him some money for a vacation. Do you blame him for that? For how he got his money?
It wasn't what they agreed. She's,
Wait,
she's a little upset.
he agreed to get the money to pay for half of the trip. He got the money to pay for half of the trip.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be for each other. So now she has to come up with the money to just pay for herself.
That's not how trips work. You come up with a budget. The trip's going to cost $2,000. You get $1,000. I get $1,000. We're going to have the trip. How is it? Well, I'm going to pay your $1,000 and you pay my $1,000 and we're all happy. It's still $1,000.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's left pocket, right pocket arguments. He came up with his half of the money. Whether it's for you or for him, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, he didn't, though. He asked his parents.
No, he was resourceful. Okay, here's the question. Would you prefer them to put it on a credit card? If he'd have put it on his American Express, would you have been happy?
She probably would have, but I wouldn't. I don't care where you get the money. Don't ask me.
See, that's the point. If he'd have put it on the credit card, then have his parents pay his credit card bill, would that have made her happy?
Probably.
Do you understand how dumb that is?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
She's 22. But I remember thinking like that.
I'm just saying.
Those are what we agreed.
He made the most financially responsible decision he could. He got the money from someone who didn't mind giving it to him. Just saying.
It's plausible.
Otherwise, he wasn't going to have the money, or he was going to have to go on credit card, and he didn't want to pay the credit card bill. Because why should you pay it? At 20 years old, you're paying 25% interest. Why would you want to do that? This is the difference. Women are emotional, men are practical. I needed $1,000. I've got $1,000. What are you complaining about? Okay. What's next? We're on to intimacy questions.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Is it possible to lose a condom inside a vagina? Yes. And I know a horrifying story. I knew someone, and she had a boyfriend, and she went out on just this social occasion with with another guy, and they, had sex with a condom. And she went back to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend, being insecure, decided to be intimate with her to bond again, and he found it in her.
Well, what a tangled web we weave.
And I heard that story like 30 years ago, and I'm still horrified today.
Yeah, well, that's what you get, isn't it? Saying.
Can't get away with nothing, man.
No, you can't. Even if you do, you don't. Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend refuses to clean himself properly, but still expects to have sex.
That's a hygiene. Tell him to learn how to take a shower properly. That was that answer.
She says his junk actually looks unkept.
Well, looking unkept, what do you mean? Like he doesn't shave or something?
No, he doesn't wash everything.
Well, yeah, that's a
There's schmegma.
shower thing, or it's a kink thing,
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that.
and it's entirely possible. But if that's not her thing, then it's a no go. That's one of those things. Both people have to be like that type of thing to have that work. And there's no other way for that to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Here's I suppose you could always go if he wants to have sex, you're gonna have to take a shower with you first, so you can clean him. I suppose you can go that way.
Yeah.
Go that route.
Oh, please.
But
Like a 2-year-old?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just say no.
Yeah.
I want to hear the shower. Turn on the shower.
Well, no, because it doesn't mean you can turn on the shower. Doesn't mean he's gonna do it properly. There's a hygiene issue that needs to be dealt with, and someone didn't teach him properly, which actually kind of makes me think it's more of a kink thing, because who in the hell doesn't know how to clean themselves as an adult?
True. And it's just common courtesy. Hello.
Yeah. Well, not everybody. Common courtesy isn't as common as we think it is. But so it's either his parents either never taught him proper hygiene, and which I suppose is sad. Someone's going to have to teach him. Should it have to be her? No. But is it going to have to be her? Probably. If the case is he just doesn't know how to. Now, if he's just not doing it, then go find somebody else. Because you shouldn't have to deal with that. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized I want to have sex with my roommate because she's female and he's male.
And she now
she doesn't understand.
Oh, so she's been she was lesbian before.
Yes.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden she's attracted to her 23-year-old.
Yes, male roommate.
Fit as a fiddle roommate.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. A nice, college, attractive, just about graduating. 23, she's 19.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to have...
She doesn't know what to do.
Probably nothing. It's probably not the world's greatest idea to have sex with your college roommate.
Roommate, not a good idea.
It's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Just from a... it opens all kinds of potential problems.
Sorry, can of worms.
Yeah. Now, maybe you find a different roommate and then go ask him.
Then ask him.
Yeah, that might be an option. Or it's time to realize you weren't as solid in what you thought your sexuality was. Clearly,
that happens.
It happens. We all change and evolve. You're 19, of course it does.
Yeah.
Or maybe very specific.
Don't just pick at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you're sexually attracted to men, but you only want to have relationships with women, and so you're gonna have to decide what's more important. Flip the two. It doesn't really matter. It's not really relevant. But you'll figure that out as you go through life. You're 19. Don't be surprised when you come up with more surprises about yourself. When you learn more surprises about yourself. You just learned a surprise about yourself. Yeah. There's more to come.
There is.
There's not. More to come.
A lot more to come.
Okay.
Okay, ready for sex, but no chance to do it anywhere? She's 18.
Just call the hotel room. Save $100 and then go get a hotel room.
There you go.
Well, at 18 you can't because
We had no-town motels. That was like $30.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, but do you really want to go to a no-tell motel for your first one? Really?
That's what we had. That's what was available in this little bohunk town.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad went there one time, and they hadn't been together for 30 years. And she wanted to go and have some place where they didn't have to sit in a car. She had photographs she wanted to show him.
Uh-huh.
She brought an album. And so he said, okay, come on, let's get this up here. We'll get this little motel, no-tell thing. So they pull up. So this lady, she at the front, at the window, she looks in, she goes, oh, hey, hi, Phil. My mother busted up laughing, and he said, that's not very funny. It's not that funny.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, generically speaking, get your sister to get an Airbnb, someone who can do that, because you're kind of young for 18. You're legal, but people don't like to rent things to 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
So, yeah, pay for a place like everybody else. Okay.
Okay, girlfriend stopped 69 because it felt too good. She couldn't focus on what she was doing because he was making her feel so good.
Well, yeah. You don't have to, there's not much you can just kind of sit there. It's fine. You don't have to do anything, realistically.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have an equal force.
Well,
right?
Generically speaking,
I thought that was a law.
The motion of the trying to keep everything balanced is enough motion for that. It's dependent upon. Yeah, it's just saying. You don't have to try.
I mean, I thought if the guy was putting in a lot of effort, the woman had to be putting in a lot of effort at the same time.
No, because what happens if you try to put the same amount of effort in at the same time is it happens to that is what happens. So you kind of trade off the extra effort, right? When his tongue needs a little bit of a break, then you can put in the more effort, and he gets to take a little bit of a break. And then you back and forth like a teeter-totter.
No way. I learn things every day.
How do people not know this? It's incredibly hard to both be focused at the same time. People need breaks, take a little bit off and you teeter-totter it. And over the course of time, over the course of the 20 minutes or whatever it is, you've each given about 10 of.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. It works out much better that way.
Cool.
Yeah. So there you guys go.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Last question.
All right.
Okay. How to stop queefing during sex? I'm sorry, but there really is not much you can do.
You can stop having such a good time. It happens because there's a lot of moisture down there. It's actually a sign of success. I want to be honest.
Oh.
Because if there wasn't so much moisture, the air that got in couldn't get out. But because it can get in and out because of its success. It only can happen if there's a lot of moisture.
Okay.
So, congratulations.
It's just so embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but it means it's like sounds of success.
Do you remember Flip Wilson dressed up as Geraldine?
No, but
it was a little bit before your time. He was this man. He'd get dressed up as a woman. He was nasty, and he goes, "Talking to you, Daddy."
Yeah, it's encouragement. It's telling you good jobs. Thank you. It's all those kind of things, but it just speaks its own language. And And the problem is that its own language sounds like what comes out the thing just a few inches away. And
I
it's a
know.
similar sound. Means completely different things, but it's a similar sound. And so, yeah, we have a natural resistance to that sound, but get over it is the only way you can deal with it. There's nothing else you can do
Okay.
except have
Yeah.
less of a good time. And do you really want to have less of a good time?
No,
No. So your solution is
just
accept it.
accept it.
Accept it. Bodies
Accept it.
make sounds and stuff as the
You know, it's a trade-off. It's a yin and yang. A little bit of embarrassment, a lot of pressure. You know, the yin and yang has been completed.
Yeah.
Zen.
Then there it is. And there's your Zen for the night. You can remember you can find us at Late Night Love. Send your questions, comments, or whatever that was to love@latenightLove.us. Have a good night. Thanks for being here. And please remember to love everybody.
Good night.